County Friends have been so incredibly successful on tailoring their fundraising to meet their community needs. And we couldn't think of anyone better to talk to you about fundraising for your community than Kelly, who is the president of the Friends of Lewis County Libraries. I warned you about that. I'm so sorry. She said they're going to go crazy every time she speaks.
Thank you. I would like to specifically thank my fangirls back there. I am blessed that we have such a great relationship with our library. This is our library director and library assistant in the back that have attended today, just to support us. Crystal Nash and Jamie Trout. And then we've also got Judy Bryson and Joe Talley, who are friends of the library, and you'll see their pictures as we go through here. But it's wonderful. And the days like this are great, especially for me, because I definitely need the inspiration to kind of get my focus, get some wonderful ideas. I'm really just astounded at all the things I've already, I mean, it's only 10:09, and all the things already that I'm like, we got to do that, we got to do that. So I really, all of you that are presenting such wonderful ideas to us, I just hope I can add to that, so, and not be too redundant, so thank you. What I was asked to do was, what she introduced us, tailor it to suit your needs, and I immediately just kind of fell into a whole lot of puns, so I'm So, perfect fit fundraising. Where do I go?
Oh, you should.
Nope, I see. Nope. Okay. This is the end of a very good story and the beginning of a new one, but raising funds is all the rage this season. Friends at the Lewis County Public Library in 2018 got this. It's centered from our library director, Crystal Nash, that our library was just completely the wrong size for our community at this point, and that we needed to increase the square footage and to modernize what was available to our community. And we joined with them to do as much as we could to try to raise $1 million. Now, it kind of depends on where you are, on how big that sounds, but for a county with under 12,000 population, that's a lot. And we didn't raise $1 million, but we rang enough bells, and we were the squeaky wheel that made sure that when grants, the big grants finally were in front of us, we were already on the list of people who needed to make the decision of who those grants would go to. So if I would encourage y'all to do anything, if you are looking for big supportive funds, you have to get out in the community, and you have to not let up. That this is the goal, this is what you're after, this is what you're trying to do, and the squeaky wheel really does get the grease, and this is the result of that. We got from two particular grants from the state, $1,696,114 that tipped us over the $1 million that we needed, and then we as friends have over $200,000 that we've collected since then from all of our different fundraisers. So these are the wonderful people that were a part of that process, and we're hoping to break ground before the end of this year. That's kind of our fingers crossed moment. So we're excited. All right, so I couldn't do it without a Devil Wears Prada quote. So florals for spring, groundbreaking. But these are some groundbreaking ideas, and I just kind of stuck with the puns, and we're going to go through these ideas and relate them to our Friends of the Library efforts. I'm going to keep doing that. All right, subtle cues. So there is a handout that was in your packet that is called, it says Quiet Fundraising. One of the things that you can do, even though I just said be a squeaky wheel, you also want to do things that are very minimal effort, but bring in a lot of funding without anybody doing a whole lot of bell ringing. And so even if you don't have a big project, these are small things that you can do that can really benefit your library. So recycle buyback companies are great. To be honest, our community and our friends group, we have discussed the idea of eBay sales, and we don't really know that we would be able to do that, at least not yet. So we have found two companies that will buy books directly. They sell them online, and then we get a percentage of that. So we're not going to draw as much as an eBay sales would, but the efforts are a lot less too. So the thrift books and Better World books information is on that flyer that's in your packet. And I would encourage you to do it. It's the easiest thing. There's no front money into it at all. They get the labels for you. You print them out. You pack the box. You send it off. There's never money that you spend. So all you do is just once you've reached a certain amount of sales online, they'll send you a little check. So it's not a huge draw, but it is definitely something that helps us filter, because sometimes we get overwhelmed with too many books. And I know that all of you kind of have that too, where all of a sudden it's like, where do we put all these books? And so having that avenue to send books off has been very helpful to us. Literally just donation jars. I had not had 100% support of that when we first started in 2018, to put little change jars out. Didn't figure that that would do great, but what we ended up doing is we had this giant water tank jar, those big plastic ones, and just put donate to the library, put the big picture of the expansion project for it. And every time we did anything in the community, we put that thing out there, and it would always get filled up. And we were constantly, and it's, you know, we still use that, and it just made it visible that this was a project, this was a goal. And it typically is the same thing as, you know, when people, they don't want to have the extra change that they've just done with some kind of exchange, they'll then put it in there. So donation jars really actually go farther than you would think. Kroger Community Rewards. We do not have a Kroger anywhere near Hohenwald, Tennessee. And yet we get over, I'd say almost $200 a year, which isn't great, but for not having a Kroger, that's actually pretty good. So if you've not signed up, it's just, you just do some searching for community rewards, and there's a few hoops you have to jump through to get signed in and get it hooked up. But basically, when anybody uses their Kroger card, if they've directed it to your organization, you get a little percent of that. And so all that we have to do is simply remind people every now and then that if they do have a Kroger card, make sure they know that. So we just do enough of awareness to just kind of let them know that that's still available. And then of course, grants. That is certainly not easy to do, but it's not a fundraiser. It's simply putting in the time, getting a committee, and working on what you need to do. So some ways that you can raise money, definitely if you're a small group, this is a really big way to get funding if you're a small membership group. Copycat knockoffs. So if it's already working, then copy it. So for whatever reason in Hohenwald, we love 5Ks. We still love them. I know that maybe that was a bigger deal and maybe they've kind of waned off, but you can get one or two a month, just about, until it gets too cold to do it, and then they still do one at Christmas. I don't know. But last year we started a 5K, and we had the right people going after sponsorships, and we had support, and it ended up being one of the easiest things to put together, and the community responded. It was great. And so if you've got something in your community where you've gone to in fundraiser that has nothing to do with friends or nothing to do with your library, steal it. So if it works for somebody else, might work for you. You might have to cater it to something, but our boutique is where we do our book sales. And so we know book sales work for libraries. That's just, if you haven't really started a process for that, or if you've not really got it where it's a regular schedule, we have people that are constantly like, when are you open? When can we get in there? You know, we really are, it's again, this is an obvious, kind of a Captain Obvious sort of thing, but you don't want to neglect the things that are already working. Let's see. Spotting trends. So tap into your own talent in your group. We have, down here at the bottom is Miss Susan Christian. She's our treasurer, and she is a banker. And so when we've had receptions for author visits, or when we've had certain events, she's there with all of the resources without us having to budget into our own. And then you can see our fine ladies. We've got Joan and Judy and Glenna who are there. They love a party And so when we can have a party, then they're there. They want to do it. So if we can turn a party into a fundraiser, we're going to do it. And we know that we've got the people that are there to support it. So kind of look into your group. What kind of hobbies do they have? Is somebody a fisherman? That can turn into a fundraiser somehow. I mean, it's anything that your group already is interested in, then you know that you're going to have the support needed to pull it off. And so that's kind of something we don't always look at as an opportunity, but talk with your members about their hobbies and find out how can we turn that into something that can benefit our group. Bold patterns. All right, we took a bold swing this year, this past February, and we did something new. We hired or got sponsored a live jazz swing band to come in. There was a theater that's in Hohenwald that had been closed for some time, and they were getting ready to reopen it. They were ready to build it up again and get it going. And so we, with our connections to the Chamber of Commerce, said, we'll clean it up if you'll let us use it for one night. And so without charging us, we went through and cleaned that place from top to bottom. I was sick for a week after, but you can see in the picture, that's from the night that we held it. We did, and it was something that if I had gone to another group and said, we're gonna do this and this, we're gonna clean the place, we're going to advertise posters, we're gonna set up an auction, we're gonna do hospitality for the band, we're gonna have people, buying tickets, we're gonna there would be a lot of people who would be like, nope, I don't like that, that's not for us. But it tapped into what our community was interested in. We had our party girls, they loved to party, and so we had our ones that loved to cook, they loved feeding the band, they wanted to do that. We had an interest in the Strand opening, and people were interested in getting back in there, getting to see it again. And so it was a new fundraiser for us, but it ended up being a great night. And for an opening event, it did fairly well. I think we got just under $2,000 after it was all over, and we're gonna do that one again. So sometimes just being bold, I started with being quiet, sometimes being bold works. You've got to kind of think of something that's not happening around you that maybe you can tap into. And then this is the one that I spoke about last year, so I won't speak forever about it, but common threads. You want to develop relationships with the other community organizations in your environment. You want to connect with the other supportive groups instead of feeling like you're in competition with them. It could be in your communities that's not necessarily available, but to us it is. In our community, we have people who are members of multiple things. If you can latch on to a Red Hat ladies group, you've got some energy right there. So if Red Hat Society, a lot of them are members of our Friends of the Library, and we have some that are in what's called the Pilot Club. I don't know if you guys have a Pilot Club in your area. And the Pilot Club just likes going out into the community to support events in the community. Well, so do we. And we have a small pool of people in our groups, so do they. So if we combine with each other, then maybe we can pull off something and actually benefit both groups. So instead of feeling like you're in competition with other donation groups or some charity groups in your community, start finding ways to create something collaborative that you can pull off that otherwise wouldn't work. So the two examples I've got, we have now an annual event that happens now we've got it where it's right always around July 4th. But our City of Hohenwald government brings in this amazing band every year, a different band every year, and the community knows that it's going to be completely free for them to attend. All they have to do is bring a chair. We're going to have Friends of the Library arranges food trucks to be there, so that there's food trucks. There's a fireworks show at night. We've got the meetings that happen monthly, starting like around March or so, where we're meeting, and then it ends up being weekly, but we collaborate with other groups. And so by collaborating with the City of Hohenwald, this event now, we will maybe easily see a parking lot full of 2,000 people. And again, for us, that's huge, that's big. It takes a lot, it wears us out, but because we are working with other groups, It's not all 100% on us. Our library staff is amazing. They do a ton of work for this. And then we do a lot. And then everybody just kind of puts their hands together. Because we have created this reputation of being collaborative and working with other groups and wanting to support our community, we're out there at least once or twice a month doing some kind of event where we are visible to our community. This wonderful training depot is now a place for us to have our book sales. We have a permanent place where we don't have to lug books back and forth. We literally have a bookstore inside the freight room of the depot. And it is an expense that we have to stay there, but it's still a huge bargain. And it takes the heat off of our small library because we haven't spent our $1 million yet to make it bigger. And it's stuffed to the brim. So there is no room for books there. So now we have this place, and it's right as you come to town, and that's our sign that you'll see every once a Saturday a month, and we come out there and our members help to sell. But again, that wouldn't have been possible if we weren't visible in our community and working with other groups so that they know our historical society is the full owners of the depot. All that they want is to make sure that somebody is in there using it and taking care of it. They chose us to be those people. And it's because they know that we're going to be supportive and draw people in. And so the relationships with other groups are just vital. So let's see. Time for alterations. See, I'm not done with the puns. They're going to keep going. These are all wonderful fundraisers that failed. Now, not 100% though, so not 100%. Things where we've tried things, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Be willing to look at everything you try and then have a review. What worked, what didn't work? Did the time put in match the amount of money that we drew from it? It's okay to stop something that's not working and say no. So alterations are important. I'm not done with that storytellers contest. I am not giving up, but we've just not found the right spot to where we can draw people and make it what we need it to be. The depot is right down there. Our depot does great. We tried a yard sale in front of the depot during Oktoberfest, where there's tons of people that come. Nobody came down there. Now, they walked by the yard sale stuff to go into the bookstore and buy books. But the yard sale stuff, they were just like, I'm done with yard sales. They were just, and so we're not doing yard sale anymore. We're gonna have the doors open and do book sales because we wanna do that. But we've had different types of contests before. The fair asked us, again, because of our good relationships, the fair asked us, could you take donations and let people take a whack with a sledgehammer at a car on me? We thought that sounded great, and we did. And do it, but in the end, when we did the math, the time we put in and the money that it drew, I was like, you know what, I'll get my checkbook for this next year, and then we can just pass. So, but maybe another group might have done that, and maybe your group, that might be a great fundraiser. So it's just, again, tailoring it to your community. You've got to know what your community will respond to. Ours like the subversive ask. They like being told that it's free, and then they still end up giving you money anyway. So that's the trick for our community. The auction is up there. We have I'll be speaking and telling you how great auctions are in just a few minutes after our break. I think auctions are great. We've worn our community out with that. We're going to take a break on that. I'll explain that later when we get to that part. Auctions are great, but again, for alterations, we're like, you know what, that Whole Ball Honey Dance did terrific for us. Let's swap one for one and do that, let our focus change. So it's good to review your fundraisers and decide what's working, what's not. All right, that's it. This is one size does not fit all. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Not everything I'm talking about is going to work for your community, but the ideas behind it should. So look for things that work for where you are, what your community likes. What I loved is I wanted to show you all, this is the vision for the new library at Lewis County. The second tree is where the library is right now. We're that part. And all of this is what we'll hopefully be able to brag about next year. So I'm excited. So anyway, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it so much. And Appreciate your time. Let's see.